Richmond Raceway's twin track. That's what's on the agenda for our second short track of Season 18. Welcome back to the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. We went short track racing just 2 weeks ago at a very familiar circuit in terms of size and stature. But when it comes down to location, it's not the same. We're no longer in Virginia, but instead we are here in Iowa. Welcome to the Iowa Speedway as we come back to short track racing for the bite-sized 150 qualifying on the move with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. And it looks like we have 24 drivers lined up for what is going to be up to 25 in our main event. Feature racing, we should have every driver eligible for this main event. And so, with that being said, qualifying in the heats will determine your official lineup order. I'll be your host for tonight's event live on FTM Broadcasting. David Kreutz commentating and producing. And right now, things are getting intense as drivers are taking their quick times. Pole position set by 8/1000ths of a second as we speak, and it's fallen in the favor of the Iowa ace, Tyler Hampton. 21 drivers have taken a time so far. Kendall Kerr going to be one of the final of which to get on track. Everyone so far, with the exception of Jason Harris, has attempted a lap. And right now, Kendall going to be going up to the top of the circuit and rim riding all the way high in turn 4, getting ready for a chance once again to go for a hot lap. He's already gone for one attempt. Wasn't all too successful. Now, here for the second. It looks like Kendall just needs to make sure he doesn't make any contact with the walls, and he should be good to go to line up at least within the top 20 of the starting grid here. Roberto Ramirez is additionally taking attempted laps at the very same time. We're only waiting now on one driver as up to the top of the board, Ramirez goes with the pole position. Roberto up to the top of the charts, Kendall Kerr 23rd, so not much success there for the number 21 team, but Ramirez grabs the pole. All the while, Jason Harris is now on the way. This is what it's going to come down to. Harris will set the final times of the session. Every driver will make the feature race. That is official now. And so as a result, no driver going to have to be all too concerned about going to the consolation for this event. 25 drivers are given the pass to make it to our feature. 24 have registered. And so everyone will be able to make it to the race tonight. Jason Harris going to be taking his final laps now, and when he is concluded with his qualifying run, qualifying will end. Quaker State number 88, maybe in some part a throwback to a very familiar paint scheme that won at a short track race all the way back in 1990, North Wilkesboro and Brett Bodine. To name one instance, Quaker State has been a sponsor of NASCAR action for several decades, and that green look, very iconic in its own right. So, Jason Harris's first lap, not all too successful here. He'll have 17 seconds to complete this one, and it looks like he will. So, a total of 24 drivers have gotten to the track tonight, and all of which have taken an attempt. As up high, the number 88 is going to end up, so that's going to be Jason Harris with a little bit of damage, and so his run will conclude just like that. Qualifying has ended, and so drivers are going to get set for our first of 2 heats tonight, and it's going to come down to splitting this field up in 12s. 12 is the pair that goes in for heat 1, then you got 12 on the second, and every driver, once again, will be confirmed to make it into this event. Although there's technically a transfer spot to look out for, it's not going to mean anything in regards to if you're eliminated from the race or not. And so, it's time to go racing. Everyone get down to the starting grid, and let's talk about your starting grid for this opening race. Having that provisional pole, it's going to be Roberto Ramirez. He finds himself up and in front in the number 42. Then you got Dylan Poteet in second, Adam Bozzi in third, Jimmy McKee in fourth, Brad Kress is going to be P5 with Sebastian Miller in sixth, Terry Brooks seventh, and Matt Mears in eighth, Corey Blevins ninth, Colton Gardner in 10th, and Robert Kenny 11th. Then you got Kendall Kerr 12th and last. Interesting tidbit, although it might not play into the relevance of this race, Corey Blevins is the last Highline Racing League driver to have won on a night where the Iora Cup Series went to Bristol, and he won at Bristol in season 15 of the Premier Series. So it's been a long time since that point, indeed, but at the same time, there's a little bit of history regarding Blevins and this series. Maybe a chance for him to come through strong tonight and make things happen all over again. Roberto Ramirez at the front of the field, got Dylan Poteet right beside, Brad Kress and company, so on and so forth, coming through as well. And in due time, we'll be going racing once again here in Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series, Iowa Speedway. It is the place to be tonight, and so heat racing is going to begin momentarily live on FTN. Watching coverage of Heat 1, 20 laps for each heat. Consolation race is on the schedule, yes, but it will be skipped, so do not expect to have any of that last chance consolation based on the field size tonight. All 24 drivers will make it into tonight's event scot-free. There will be no worry of whether or not a driver makes it in, although Corey Blevins does not look to be on the lineup here as we get going and we roll out of pit road. So interesting to see that as drivers now make their way out. We're going to have ourselves 2 pit stops, of course. Some drivers might have to make pit stops in these heats, maybe 1 per each if they have damage, but that will be detrimental to their qualifying position. Nevertheless, it will not be a race ender, with the fear now of consolation being meaningful, almost completely out of sight and out of mind. We're going to see perhaps a little bit more aggressive racing here. No cautions are going to be on the table for these short track heats. As we saw in Richmond, that might get the better of some drivers, but for the most part, we've seen very calm and clean racing, and this is a very similar track to that of the Richmond Raceway, so perhaps going to come to the driver's preference even if they're not necessarily familiar with Iowa specifically. Got some good experience working at a track just like it just 2 weeks ago, so hopefully that helps out some of these guys in the field and getting themselves settled in and looking to go for a strong race again tonight. Maybe we could alleviate a few of the caution flags by way of having that experience in helping us out. Ramirez on the bottom and the 31 up top, that's going to be in the Exide Batteries 31, Dylan Poteet, throwing it back to Jeff Burton all the way back some 25 years ago when he made that car famous, and he's still, of course, running that paint scheme here in the sim racing world. Dylan Poteet is, and it's an iconic look, and bringing it back on the Toyota Supra, no less. Well, we'll see if he's successful here tonight as we are getting ready to go green all over again. Number 42 of Roberto Ramirez will lead us in. 12 drivers per heat, all of which will make the main feature, and Ramirez is looking to grab the pole. It's the battle for P1 here in Heat 1, and we're underway for 20 laps of heat racing. Ramirez early on going to get that jump. Dylan Poteet in the high side, and Adam Bazzi immediately goes down low. Not much has changed, but it looks like the 27 with a strong jump to make it just ahead of that number 31 in correspondence and quick. Drivers get themselves settled in all over again. Now it's going to be Roberto Ramirez working the high groove out of turns 1 and 2. Maybe slightly advantageous for now, but no clear-cut leader of this pack otherwise. Questions begin to rise, though, for a guy like Corey Blevins. He's going to be starting 12th and last, and he's going to be 6 seconds off your leader. He had to miss the start of this heat, and now it's going to be 4 drivers battling for the top spot. Adam Bazzi going to take his number 27 low, jousting for position there with a 42, and Ramirez is not giving in just yet, but it looks like now more than ever there's going to be competition at the front of the pack here. Knowing that there is no official transfer spot, it is now time to go all out. Adam Bazzi still leading that pack. Jimmy McKee and Dylan Poteet coming with, perhaps to provide a little bit more of that reinforcement. .48 machine going to be in 4th. Dylan Poteet is in 3rd. 4 laps in out of 20. And right now, even Sebastian Miller in that number 83, who was holding on in 5th, is keeping these leaders honest. Perhaps an opportunity here, if maybe in the longer portion of this run, as long as they can of course, get anyway. Sebastian Miller perhaps has a chance to make something happen. Terry Brooks going to go down low. Not much can be done so far for the 23, but working up the track from the bottom of the circuit through the apex, multiple drivers are taking different lines and different approaches. Middle is going to be where Roberto Ramirez lies, very similarly so for Dylan Poteet, and perhaps that's going to be preferential now for the leaders as the lines continue to get worn in. Jimmy McKee finds himself a little bit higher now than Adam Bozzi. Bozzi really goes for the lowest approach through the apex of all the top 4 drivers as Jimmy gets a little bit loose. Side by side, Sebastian Miller and Jimmy McKee, no dice yet, but the battle for the pole position, it is heating up. Dylan Poteet now going to be to the tail end of Roberto Ramirez, and it might change from tail end to the side-by-side battle you're witnessing right there. Ramirez right now going to find himself up and ahead, but that is subject to change. Dylan Poteet now just behind. 18/100ths of a second makes the difference between what will be pole position and third place. Every spot, technically speaking, counts double in this fight based on the fact, of course, that we've got drivers here fighting for the inside line position. The outside groove is going to be heat number 2, second and then on back. Single file mostly beyond Roberto Ramirez and Dylan Poteet, a strong driver at these short tracks with a victory at North Wilkesboro some 2 seasons ago. 3 seasons now, as a matter of fact, and it looks like he's got himself a chance to go for that front row, and this is a very similar battle to what we saw in Heat 1 in Richmond, in which Alan Kunman found himself up to the top of the board. He went for an alternate strategy in which things went a little bit different for him. Success, unfortunately, he couldn't find it based on that call, but that track position, it gives you the opportunity to experiment. 10 laps to go when we come across the stripe this time by, and it looks like Kendall Kerr now going to go down and under on Brad Kress. Robert Kenny, technically speaking, is on the transfer line. However, every driver in this heat will be able to make it on to the main race. From what we're looking at here, we will have our consolation skipped, given the fact that we do have 24 drivers of the 25 slots available. So it should be 100% main participation in the feature tonight. And so far, drivers have been running very cleanly, using multiple grooves and really not having much trouble at all in handling various situations. Roberto Ramirez right now, no difficulty in being the defensive driver. Dylan Poteet and Adam Bozzi have had more trouble anyway getting around him. And that's what it seems to be continuing as Adam Bozzi decides to go up high and right up alongside the wall, getting a little bit of a tap there on the top side. Really couldn't do much of it, but definitely good momentum to try and work against Dylan Poteet. And you'll see now surging up to the high side. Poteet tries to block. Adam Bozzi to the bottom. Not going to work out. Quick slide job. 27 machine of Adam Bozzi, 31 of Dylan Poteet. Still the same, 13 laps, 10 out of 20. The fight rages on, and now Roberto Ramirez has a little bit more padding to work with. Good to have these drivers distracting one another, and as they go toe-to-toe, 13 laps, 10 out of 20, it's still going to be clear as day here that Roberto Ramirez has the top spots. Maybe locked up for pole, maybe locked up for the remainder of the race, but getting that expertise in the short sprint, well, it looks like perhaps what's next up for him, Adam Bozzi and Dylan Poteet, is the challenge of defending properly, using multiple grooves, but it seems like so far he's succeeded. Jimmy McKee, Sebastian Miller, they're going to be third, fourth, fifth, with Terry Brooks now coming in the sixth spot. Still, Terry hasn't been able to make it inside of the top five, but he's gotten rather close. 5 laps to go this time through single file, very little fluctuation. Drivers have been as calm as they come, and even Corey Blevins, who came out of the track late, he's done a pretty good job remaining out of harm's way and ensuring that the rest of the field gets away just fine. These first 2 heats. Lap 20, of course, is the end of this one, and then we have a 20-lap equidistant sprint. That's going to be heat number 2. all of which are going to be coming down to our 100-lap main feature. So 140 laps appear to be on the agenda tonight overall from Iowa. And as it stands, 27-31, toe-to-toe again. This is the battle for third on the starting grid. And now Adam Bazzi lunges to the bottom. At some laps, we've seen Poteet up, and he's got the advantage. Others, Adam Bazzi has been able to hold the fort. But right now, it looks like there's no clear victor in the fight, as there is clearly Roberto Ramirez up and ahead. Then you got Jimmy McKee with the best seat in the house, and as we ride on board with him, here you have it. McKee up high there is the 31 machine. Dylan Poteet right with. Toe-to-toe they will go, with now coming to 2 laps to go. Dylan with a little bit of a slide drop placed on him, has no choice now but to surge to the inside, and the 27 machine now just has to react and defend. Uptown, the number 31 goes. That's another slide job, but this time in Adam Bazzi's favor. And Jimmy McKee is still the onlooker as the leader, Roberto Ramirez, gets away. 19 laps in, out of 20. You make it 1 lap to go this time by. White flag for Roberto Ramirez. He won the pole on time. He's going to win it on a heat race. And 20 laps have proven even still he is the man to beat, perhaps tonight, based on this strong early showing. Now Adam Bazzi breaks away for second. Jimmy McKee, this is for 5th on the grid, will go low, diving deeper into turn 3 and 4, but Poteet will have the momentum coming out. Roberto Ramirez at the checkered flag, wins heat 1, wins the pole position, and it will bring Bazzi and Poteet with them 1, 2, 3 in the heat. Jimmy McKee there in 4th. Every driver will make it to the main as a result of our field capacity. So now, time for heat number 2. 20 laps on the table, going to be led first and foremost by a very familiar driver, the number 5 of Tyler Hampton. And Alan Cunman right there with, it's the number 18 that's looking now for victory lane. Alan is a surefire candidate for a short track win whenever we go down to one of these circuits. However, if we're talking about recent success for Cunman, well, look no further back than last week, able to come away with victory lane after what was a very intense race in which, well, for Alan Cunman anyway, he just had to avoid all the troubles, and that's what got him in a victory lane. Luckily for Alan, he did just that and was able to come through a victor once again in the Highline Racing League, a victory that he's been waiting for since the better half of season 15, the season in which he became a Highline Racing League champion. So it's been a while. That's not in question, and tonight, maybe an opportunity to go for back-to-back victories if, of course, he can get it done again. He was strong in Richmond's qualifying session, and I think many a driver would remember that, but the race fell apart for him. Now, maybe a chance to show that he's got a little bit more of that race pace than previously anticipated, and maybe better with the strategy. Alan spoke to us last week after his victory and said they felt that one of these races, one of these days, he'd get a win based on doing his own thing and doing it differently. He's got that win now, so the question becomes, now you have that sort of a statement victory. What can you do now to return to conventions and remain successful even when you do it everyone else's way? I think that's something Alan has to consider here if he wants to continue those winning ways. And of course, it was a huge victory for Cunman, not only because of the nature of his winless streak, but the nature of the win itself. He was in some heated territory with the likes of Caleb Morrissey going at it with a guy like Casey Heschel, and it was tense. Morrissey almost had a chance to break his own winless streak. Didn't quite go his way, and he ended up involved in an incident. Tyler Hampton going to stay on pit road and miss the start. Here and now, it's going to be the number 97 of Scott Wheeler with the provisional pole for this heat, and Alan Cunman, the control car, right up high. Wheeler going to gain some spots here and perhaps the advantage in this heat, but Alan Cunman going to have some good momentum up top through the opening turns as we go green in heat number 2. Cunman's got the race lead now. He took it up high, and as simple as that, Allen is back out in front, and these Richmond-style tracks seem to really suit the 8 team. That's about the best we can put it. A very similar track to Richmond Raceway, and save for the location and the track conditions tonight, they're almost identical in the way they race. 3/4 mile circuit with bank turns and that curved front straightaway, allowing for drivers to really take those notes from Virginia and bring them right back down here. This was the favorite track that drivers wanted to see on our schedule randomizer, and based on some circumstances with other circuits not having correct setups, well, we have no choice but to bring the field back down to Iowa again, which came with a resounding yes from the field. Everyone who's here seems to enjoy being back. Tyler Hampton still on pit road. Jason Harris very far behind himself. Mike Tellier went down to pit road too, and it looks like right now he is scored in 12th, whereas up in front of the field, you'll see the battle between Casey Heschel here and Chad Winstead. Winstead came away with a quiet and somewhat surprising third place finish last week in what was a whirlwind event at the Chicagoland Speedway. Based on the scenario involving Caleb Morrissey and Heschel, Caleb was able to keep second, but Chad Winstead was able to usurp the podium placement of the 49, and therefore he came away with a third place finish. Good run for him, but something he perhaps didn't quite expect. But a good points day is a good points day, and you can never complain about finding that success. Right now, Chad's looking to replicate it and embodying that success. He finds himself 4th right now in this run. As it stands, of course, Chad Winstead still has a ways to go to get back up to the podium, but it'll be more about the drivers behind, including Lucas Lodato, who now looks to be diving deep in that number 7 and trying to make the move around Chad Winstead. P5 is still Lucas, and it's going to be maybe a chance to get up one spot higher, as there's Caleb Morrissey in 6th, and Dawson Buchanan is going to be 7th. Buchanan has been a particularly impressive rookie, able to come away with a, 20-plus positions gained at his highest last week in Chicagoland, and I think now, more than anything else, one of Blacktop Racing's newest recruits. This number 4 is serious when it comes to what's up next in the next, perhaps, season or two. You got to look out for Buchanan the same way we looked out first for Tyler Hampton. Perhaps Buchanan can have a chance to go out there and win a few races in seasons to come. It's his very first full-time campaign here in the Highline Racing League, still working out the rookie kinks, but in 30-plus car fields, Dawson has proven to be one of the quickest drivers week in, week out, and perhaps now maybe a chance to embody that spirit once again and make some gains in this heat. But right now, gains have seldom been made. If you stayed somewhere, you started there, and vice versa. And Alan Gunman, well, he started ahead of Scott Wheeler based on timing and scoring, technically speaking anyway, and of course Scott was able to lead it down low, but Alan Gunman struck back, and immediately he did take the race lead. The SP Designs number 8 is up and ahead and looking to win his second heat of the season, and he will be the only driver with a 100% heat win rate on the campaign. Goes to show Alan Gunman has become somewhat of a short track ace, especially when it comes to raw pacing in this event. It looks like these 20-lap sprints are exactly what he needs to really go out there and show exactly what he's got. You don't have to worry all too much about that tire wear. You cannot really kill your stuff, but at the same time, you got to be a little bit more patient. It's as simple as that. And right now, Alan Gunman, 10 laps in, make it 11. He looks to be already on a surefire track to coming away with another heat victory and the outside pole position as a result. Dawson Buchanan going to be now in 7th. Connor Holden is in 8th, and after a very early incident last week, had to bow out in Chicagoland and looking for a rebound tonight, is ahead of Jason Harrison, number 88. And there's Tyler Hampton, who is 5 laps down. Looks like Mike Tellier got out of the cockpit and might have disconnected, which would leave us with 23 for your main. And down low goes Tyler Hampton on the inside of Jason Harris. Hampton is faster, albeit he is currently trapped 5 laps down. So Tyler will be starting in the 22nd position based on estimates from our last heat to this. Tyler's going to be all the way to tail end tonight, having to work his way back up, perhaps giving himself that extra challenge, whether voluntary or otherwise. Tyler Hampton going to have a lot to work with here. 13 laps in out of 20. Unlike what we've seen in previous heats where multiple drivers have had huge trouble, well, it looks like for the time being, the 5 of Tyler Hampton, he's held on quite strong. Dawson Buchanan, he's a number 4 machine, 7th place as it stands. And there's just ahead of him Caleb Morrissey and Lucas Lodato, P5 and P6. So now, calm racing in Iowa has been the theme. Even in Richmond, we saw a few very minor incidents. 14 laps in out of 20, and so far in this heat, which would be the 34th lap of 40, well, as it stands, it looks like very few have changed with respect to how drivers have gone at it. Single file driving, it's almost like running hot laps again and again and again once more. Currently, anyway, I don't think Chad Winstead's got much an issue running behind Casey Heschel. Much like Heschel doesn't seem all too concerned about being where he is with Scott Wheeler. And Alan Cummin, of course, he's got himself where I think he'd like to be and where he would like to stay. And that would be race leading, 16 laps in out of 20. And the job is due to be done here. The checkered flag may fly soon. And so as a result, Alan Cummin would have the outside pole. Mike Tellier now 15 laps down. It looks like Tyler Hampton heading down a pit road, perhaps going to bow out of this heat, understanding that there's really little else he can do. So Hampton coming in, getting some service. All the while, Alan Cummin continues to pull away. Not even like Roberto Ramirez, where Ramirez had to fight for it. It looks like right now, clearly, it's Alan Cummin up and ahead. He's got not even a driver trying to fight from second on back. Chad Winstead's closing in slightly on Casey Heschel. Take a look on board now at the number 1 as we come to the final 3 laps of this race. Winstead goes low, Casey Heschel remains high, and so the number 49 pulls out with much better momentum with 2 laps remaining. Popsicle sticks. That's all it comes down to. 19 laps in out of 20. So now it looks like the driver, the number 7, is hanging tough there, Lucas Lodato. Then you got Chad Winstead, number 1 machine, in 4th, but it looks like that might change. P3 now going to be on the line. It's the battle for what would be 6th in the starting grid. If, of course, Casey Heschel hangs on, he'll take that spot. If not, Winstead will have it, and the white flag's out. 1 lap to go for the ever-dominant Alan Cummin, winning last short track week. Richmond, he got heat number 1, but tonight he'll have to settle for a heat number 2 victory and the outside pole on the high side, which he used to dominate this race in Iowa. Checkered flag, he'll win heat number 2, take second on the grid, and it'll be Scott Wheeler and Casey Heschel rounding out the top 3. Once again, every driver made it to the main event as a result of capacity tonight, and Cummin will start in second. Allen makes it down a pit road, getting just enough time to make it down and in. And so that number 8, leading after 20 laps, gets the job done. Final heat of the day going to be won by Alan Cummin, first of which in the pole position will be grabbed by Roberto Ramirez. And so we move on to your main race. Consolation will be skipped. 30 laps. That's what it would have been, but every driver will make it into your main, and here we go. Welcome back to the Iowa Speedway, this time composed of every driver from top to bottom and all in between. So let's go through your starting grid top to bottom. Unfortunately, based on the heat system we use, can't bring up that starting overlay graphic, but let's talk a little bit more about what you saw in those heats. Heat winners, first and foremost. Well, they're going to be up and ahead once again. It's going to be Roberto Ramirez, Alan Cummin. Heat winners, Heat 1 winner, Roberto Ramirez. Heat 2, Alan Cummin, and they both get the job done to dominate their heats, 20 laps respectively. Third place going to be Adam Bozzi, and 4th for Scott Wheeler, with P5 Dylan Poteet, and 6th for Casey Heschel. Jimmy McKee will be 7th, and Chad Winstead will be in 8th, with 9th being Sebastian Miller, Lucas Lodato in 10th, Kendall Kerr then in 11th, and 12th, Caleb Morrissey. 13th is Brad Kress with Dawson Buchanan, and then 14th. 23rd, well, we're going to have to look very far back for that, but driver number 23 is Terry Brooks with Jason Harris 16th, Matt Muir 17th, and the 18th, 54 of Kenny Brooks. 19th going to be Colton Gardner, 20th is going to be Connor Holden, and 21st on the night, that's going to be just a little bit further back, and you'll see there, it's going to be Robert Kenny. Tyler Hampton, Corey Blevins, 22 and 23 positions. Mike Tellier looks to be disconnected prematurely. DJ Stagner is 25th and last, although he will be promoted up to 24th as he joins last, and he has made it in to tonight's event, although he'll be starting with that major disadvantage. No practice, no qualifying, no heats. He is dead last. It'll be Roberto Ramirez getting a chance to lead the field, and one he is sure not to waste. You might remember that at lap 70-75, Roberto Ramirez found himself in a comfortable top 10 position, only to find his race ruined by incident. Now tonight, he's looking for redemption. Alan Cunman's going to be up top, and his own worst enemy was himself at Richmond, and tonight, well, he's taking those lessons learned, he's taking another Heat 1, and he's looking for a chance to convert it into overall victory. It'll be Ramirez down low, leading the way here in Iowa as we go green once again. Alan Cunman, significantly better jump. He brings us to the start and finish line, and we are going green once again from a short track in Iowa. Alan Cunman going to be race leading with Roberto Ramirez there in second, and already Scott Wheeler up high looking for that second spot in his own right. Taking a look now at the number 97, putting a little bit of pressure down. Looks somewhat similar to what you saw in those heat races. However, that's the same attitude most drivers are bringing in these opening laps, understanding we have so much time, you just can't think about worrying about going for the race win. Can't be all too aggressive. Think about the fundamentals of short track racing and go from there. Oftentimes, drivers get carried away with going for those very aggressive maneuvers. Luckily at Iowa, we've had a pretty good track record of not going that route. And I would say that's why I was become the favorite of these drivers, all of which have decided to go the way of not being all too aggressive. Iowa seems to come to their liking. Even Richmond, we saw a few issues with drivers going back and forth with a little bit more risk. However, here now tonight, not the same. Number 49 goes down to the inside. That's Casey Heschel looking for sixth here and looking for himself a little bit of that racing redemption. It was Casey Heschel and, of course, Caleb Morrissey, the story of last week in Chicagoland. And unfortunately for Heschel, he came out on the significantly worse end of the spectrum. It was a battle for the win in the final 15 laps. He, Alan Cunman, Caleb Morrissey, Cunman, both of which looking to snap what was a 3-season winless drought, and Casey Heschel looking to snap one of over a season in his own right. So all of which were racing hard. Cunman decided to back off, but Casey Heschel and Caleb Morrissey made contact up the wall and all the way down. And what happened was Heschel ended up sliding through the infield and eventually made his way down to nearly a standstill. Came up the track and finished outside of the top 15 as a result. Bad news for Casey Heschel, of course, and not a good points night in the slightest. So this is a race where success is almost mandatory for a chance, maybe not just at the championship, but just to pull things back together and bring some good momentum in for the next part of the campaign. Kendall Kerr going to be low. Jimmy McKee up top, two of your blacktop racing boys now looking to make some room. Caleb Morrison just got in the wall. 7 laps in out of 100 here. It looks like Jimmy McKee still going to stay up on the top side. Lucas Lodato right there with. And now Lucas finding himself just a groove lower. He hasn't had all too much trouble here. 7 Machine has decided to stay right within arm's reach and goes to the bottom groove. Just the passed again by the number 48. Jim McKee right now coming up on his teammates. His teammate Nalin Cunman leads. Then, of course, you got Casey Heschel, who's right around the confines of this battle in 10th. Then from there, you got all the way back Brad Kress, the last of the Blacktop Racing boys. Jason Harris also there in the number 88 machine. And Jason right now doing a pretty good job, of course, of just keeping himself with the pack, which some drivers have failed to do. DJ Stagner is not one of which. He's doing just enough right now to stay within the leading group, which spreads back some 5 seconds, and these are practice laps for DJ. In all honesty, he's going to have to take the first 40, 50 laps as a practice session because every other driver in this race got a minimum of 20 laps in racing conditions. That's something that DJ did not get because he came in a little bit too late. And so he'll have to recover by means of knowledge. And right now, that knowledge is power for the leaders up and ahead, and they're using it quite well. Lucas Lodano is there in 10th. Looking just ahead is still going to be Kendall Kerr. Take a ride on board with Lodano, and let's see exactly what's going on. Looking at that driver telemetry, unfortunately going to be a knock on the wall there from Lucas Lodano, which is going to send him backwards in the order. And so now it's going to be Caleb Morrissey making that move up and ahead into 10th. Lodano right now going to be very similar position to where he started, and overall fluctuations remain minor. Let's talk about the biggest movers here while we can, because already we've seen some drivers climb up the ladder, most of which though have had no trouble staying exactly where they started. Up 7, Tyler Hampton. This one's to be expected. The ace of Iowa has decided to challenge himself, whether intentionally or otherwise, and now he's going to have to bring himself up through the field by means of force. No yellow flag to bail him out so far, and as a result, these efforts have been 100% natural, which has given them that much more worth, and it's been very impressive to see what he's done to this point. DJ Stagner's made some gains, up 5 so far, from 25th up to 19th. 23rd to 18th will be Corey Blevins, and Blevins not half bad a short track driver he's been over his Highline Racing League career. His last victory came out of short track, and every season we seem to see a little bit more of that peak potential, shall we say, of Corey Blevins, and a lot of the times he shines biggest and brightest at these smaller tracks. Right now he's running a humble 17th, really nothing too showy right now, but keeping pace, and that's what matters most. Last season he was particularly strong at Richmond, and this season right now really not showing anything all too exceptional, just making ends meet and making sure it's not a disastrous race, which for many drivers, that's two things that can't be guaranteed or promised. Tyler Hampton side by side with now the ailing Matt Muir. Matt goes up to the ceiling of the circuit, and he's going to let the number 5 of Tyler Hampton instead get better momentum, even though he's on that compromised bottom groove. Low side hasn't been the best of which for drivers trying to make passes. It looks like there's a lot more trust in going up top, which a lot of the time, when it comes to short track racing anyway, I don't think drivers immediately assume is the case, but these NASCAR Xfinity cars on iRacing have given a chance to do things maybe a little bit more unconventionally. The bottom is often considered perhaps ideal by nature in racing. Right now at Iowa, I don't quite think that's the case, although the inside line has been used all throughout by the leaders, even the mid-packers, but if you want to make a move, you can certainly sling it up to the higher side and make that momentum power you outside of the corner with little to no trouble. And little hesitation, as a matter of fact, for Dylan Poteet. Dylan finds himself in 3rd, Adam Bozzi there in 4th. These two drivers have kept each other lockstep since even the heats. Their race pace is remarkably similar, and it's going to be interesting to see who has the advantage as the race goes on. Maybe it's going to come down to Adam Bozzi having the edge with regards to his driving style, or maybe it's going to come down to Dylan Poteet. There's experience on both sides. Both of them have short track wins. Adam Bozzi, season 15 at Richmond, and season 16 at Martinsville. For Dylan Poteet, he's got season 16 Phoenix, Season 15, he didn't win, but season 14, he won at North Wilkesboro. Both of these drivers have something to show for their short track careers. And maybe now they've got a chance, of course, to really put it to work. Number 31 machine Dylan Poteet is going to find himself still the advantageous of the two. Then you got Scott Wheeler a little bit ahead in second. Wheeler, we've been waiting to see him win for quite a while. It feels like it's been several seasons. The season 14 champ, the season 13 champ, the two-timer. Looking for victory lane once again, something he has not yet found, of course, in the past 2 seasons. Chad Winstead and Caleb Morrissey now going to be toe-to-toe. Caleb is going to find himself now just behind. Winstead able to make that move on the lower groove, and it looks like Winstead now up into the single digits. Up and ahead of him going to be Kendall Kerr in 7th, Roberto Ramirez 6th, Casey Heschel in P5. Roberto Ramirez, additionally, your pole sitter, has not been able to maintain the top 2. It looks like now not even inside of the top 5. Currently going to find himself in the 5th position. Well, not even that. He's down to 6. So overall on the day, the gains have not been made for Roberto Ramirez. He's down 5 from 1st to 6th. Admittedly, not a bad drop by any means, but I'm sure right now for the driver, that number 42, he would love to be the race winner. That's something you cannot guarantee, of course, when you're in position just like this, where there's so many strong drivers from the heats you didn't even race now getting a chance. I mean, we saw heat number 2, Alan Cummin ran away. Yes, that's the case, but there were other drivers who didn't necessarily have a chance to get right with them who were still very quick. Alan just set the bar high as the caution's going to fly. Connor Holden's going to go sliding. Yellow flag for the first time tonight. Minor incident, if anything. Connor Holden looks to be involved in a single car spin. He collects himself, and it looks like we should be able to go green once more. Maybe DJ Stagner involved, and the Swamp Motorsport drivers get into each other. Those are teammates, mind you. And so they go sliding. Holden goes down for a quick 360. Yellow flag's out. Quarter way into this race here, and Connor Holden brings out the first caution of the day. And so we are pacing, and I think pit road is going to now get somewhat busy here. So now, pretty far away from our pit exit here, you can see drivers slowly but surely entering the frame. Let's talk first and foremost about what strategy is going to entail with this pit stop here and now. I think what this comes down to first and foremost for strategy on tires. Everyone's going to make it from here, if they want to. They can run it for 75 laps on tire here in Richmond with about 2.5 seconds of fall off, maybe 3 seconds of terminal fall off when it's all said and done. Fuel might be fine. That is a huge if right now. Nothing is really set in stone, but there's a real possibility as Alan Cummin gets beat off the line by Heschel and Wheeler that you can make it to the end. 3 sets of tires going to be allotted for drivers, so very few, as then from there you have Dylan Poteet, Adam Bazzi, DJ Stagner, Roberto Ramirez, and then Chad Winstead, Kendall Kerr, Caleb Morrissey. And so bring it back up to your race leader in Alan Cunman here. Sebastian Miller, Robert Kenny, early retirees, although not involved in that incident, both of which will decide to back out for tonight, leaving us with 22 on the lead lap as it stands. Casey Heschel takes the race lead as a result of this shuffle up, and so now one manufacturer per podium spot. Toyota is going to lead over the Ford and Scott Wheeler, and then you got the Chevrolet and Alan Cunman. Very diverse manufacturer lineup at the front of the field, and actually we got quite a few Toyotas up in front of the top 10, especially compared to usual. Matter of fact, inside the top 10, only 2 Chevrolets, and the dominant proportion is 5 of 10 Fords. The Blue Ovals are going to find themselves littering the top 10 with 3 Toyota Camrys, or rather Supras tonight, and then it's going to be the Chevy Camaros of Jimmy McKee and Alan Cunman, Blacktop Racing Zone. So it's going to be all over the place when it comes to the manufacturers and the drivers and the teams, and currently now it's going to be the number 49 of Casey Heschel up and ahead, and he's there for the Misfit Mafia. He and Roberto Ramirez, 1st and 6th. So pole sitter and current race leader on the same team. Seems like a recipe for success so long as they can hold it. Go green at lap 30 of 100 here, and we'll bring ourselves back to racing once again. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot more of that green flag running. Unfortunately, a very small incident that brought us under yellow. Two drivers, teammates at that, in Connor Holden and DJ Stagner, bringing some contact out of turn 2, and Holden should be able to continue, and it looks like that he will. Same goes for DJ Stagner. Alan coming now, going to be the lowest spot he's been in all race long. That's going to be in third. So not the best spot for him to be in, but at the same time, he didn't start technically anyway in first. He just got a good jump to bring him up there. So we'll see if he's going to continue being confident in that high side or if he decides to take where the best track position is. Looks like, yeah, bottom groove. So Alan Cunman decides to dive deep this time to the bottom and follow Casey Heschel. Alan Cunman going to go right down to the inside, and it looks like he's going to follow Casey Heschel here. This could be the winning strategy on the restart, and of course that's going to be following the leader. Leader's the control car on these restarts. We go based on when the leader decides to hit the pedals. So if Alan Cunman gets that direct signal rather than having to look alongside him, it might mean about up to 1/10 of a second of an advantage, and it might be best, of course, Casey Heschel doesn't give too big of a signal on when he's going to jump, because he might bring the all-powerful and quick Alan Cunman right there with him. Casey Heschel, what a jump that was. Opening restart's going to be all in his favor, and no chance for even Cunman to get up with them, but the inside significantly stronger on that start. Casey Heschel now going up top, and he's got a battle to deal with here in Alan Cunman, already skating up high, and already Cunman back in front. Alan is looking really strong all of a sudden for what could be 2 consecutive victories, and we didn't even think he was in the books for one with 15 laps to go last week. And maybe now we'll have to change our mind on that number 18, because Alan Cunman has put himself together again to take the race lead. And you got Scott Wheeler here coming up with Dylan Pote, Casey Heschel and company. Scott up to second. Casey already falling back and starting to think maybe he decided to go for an alternate call, because he's falling back rapidly, and he was inside the podium before, but all of a sudden he does look to be a little bit slower than all those drivers here, and I don't think it's just because he got a bad start or anything. I think rather he might have gone for 2 tires, and that he did. Quicker pit stop, 6.6 seconds in length in the box, but now the setbacks are already coming in. And it's somewhat ironic now to see Casey Heschel decide to go for this strategy call when it's the very same one that cost Alan Cunman the win in Richmond just 2 weeks ago. Now the Hornets' nest pulls together. You'll see there Lucas Lodato to the bottom side. Up top going to be Kendall Kerr, 2x2, many a row deep. Dawson Buchanan's going to be in 11th again, and Terry Brooks there in 12th. It's 2x2 all over the place. Tyler Hampton now going to be in 14th, and maybe for the first time all night, he's got a chance to make it up inside of the top 10. Not a driver we expect to speak of very early. Anyhow, I think you got to acknowledge the fact he starts very far behind. It won't be easy to make it up even as time goes on. Question becomes whether or not. Of course, he's got an opportunity to go even further. 12th place for Tyler Hampton right now. Let's see what else he can do as it's Dawson Buchanan drifting down to the inside, and luckily he saves it. Tyler Hampton now 3 wide again with Casey Heschel, and you can see Heschel falling back quick. Jimmy McKee right there with. Let's ride on board now with the number 5. throttle control above all else is what we're hearing here. And it'll be more evident if we take a look at that driver telemetry. Got some estimates going on based on iRacing's timing data. And you can see here, yes, full on all throughout the back straightaway. But take a listen again. And putting it back down, and again, Tyler Hampton, he's going back and forth not only through, potentially, the revs, but even through the gears. Some drivers have gone third and fourth throughout races at Richmond and Iowa alike, although I think now Tyler's going to go for that traditional stick it in fourth method and go from there. Let's take a look a little bit further up. There's Lucas Lodato. There's Terry Brooks, and now you'll see Roberto Ramirez going up on the high side. He's got himself in 8th. Roberto continues to drop back. Problems now for the number 42? I wouldn't say so. More so anyway, he just does not have the speed to go out there and win this race. And he was the quickest driver in Heat 1. That's not a question in the slightest. Although now you gotta wonder, is the competition more stacked for long-term racing in Heat 1, or was that more based on the qualifying times? Now, that's something that's very tricky to evaluate on, of course, first-hand knowledge of timing, but we can see now with iRacing providing us Heat data access, well, of course, the driver who is leading this race, he came from Heat 2. But when it comes down to the top 10, overall, it's a very even split. 5 drivers who came from Heat 1 are inside of the top 5. 5 drivers who came from Heat 2 are inside of the top 10. So both of which are setting an equal number inside of the top 10. And the best driver right now from Heat 1 is going to be Dylan Poteet, who finds himself from 5th to 2nd on the starting grid after he finished 3rd in the first heat. So heat number doesn't seem to really have any correlation with whether or not the driver's succeeding, because take a look at this. Dylan Poteet now looking for the race lead. Dylan looking low, Alan coming right up top. They'll be side by side now, coming out of turn 2. And for the first time all night long, Alan Cumming going to be directly challenged. And Dylan Poteet looking to take the lead back for the Heat 1 team. Up in front, Poteet with the top spot for the first time tonight. And perhaps now a strategic ploy by Alan Cumming, whether or not it is, that remains to be seen. But keep in mind, everyone here is going to be on the exact same stint when it comes to the numbers. It's all about management from here. Can you manage your stuff better than the next driver? And if you can, maybe sometimes that comes with laying back a little bit. Instead of saving up your stuff fully, you might not want to be fully aggressive, but you might want to be a little bit more, shall we say, apparent in the battles. Maybe that's how Dylan Poteet's going to go about it. Maybe Alan Cumming goes about it the exact opposite way, in which, no, he's going to decide to be a little bit more conservative, full on. Forget about aggression right now. Forget about being noticed. He has the laps. He has that screen time. Now he's just got to find a way to go for the distance. And we are 90 laps into the stint. We have 55 laps to go from this point. There's a chance that drivers can go all the way if they would like to. Now, one stop still might be preferable and recommended for most, but at the same time, that is all up to the driver's discretion from here on out. If they want to make it down a pit road, that they can. There's an opportunity to go all the way. However, I do not believe we are going to see it here for a lot of these guys who especially haven't managed their stuff well. Tires are going to be continuing to shred lap after lap. Over the course of this 20-lap stint, tires have worn out to the point where laps are about a second slower per compared to the all-out fastest. Dylan Poteet's fastest lap, a 24.18. His most recent, a 25.15. So a full second going to be taken off there for the driver, the number 31. Similar for Alan Cumming, very similar for Scott Wheeler as well. Right now, pace is going to be about a second slower than the absolute peak these drivers can give us. And so as a result, really little else they can do but evaluate their choice, because it is going to be very likely that the opportunity is given to them, maybe a caution or otherwise, to go down and in. Not everyone's going to take. There is going to be a chance given. Now we'll just see who decides to accept it. 8 machine of Alan Cumming down low, and it looks like now with them, the number 31 up top. Toe-to-toe right now, it's going to be Cumming and Dylan Poteet, who hang it toe-to-toe alongside each other. Let's see what Scott Wheeler can do in third here with Adam Bozzi coming up. Bozzi, Caleb Morrissey, and Morrissey looking strong again. That number 6 team coming off the back of a second-place finish, which of course came with its controversy. All of a sudden, Caleb fast once more, and he mentioned in his interview last week that you never really know when that opportunity for victory comes once again. So when it does, you got to go all out, and that was the mentality that he, of course, provided as explanation for the events that finished that race, of course, with a little bit of an air of controversy. Nevertheless, right now, Caleb looking strong once again, and perhaps a chance to maybe make it up there on Adam Bozzi, although loose now. He's going to have to really settle himself back down and almost gives up a spot to Kendall Kerr by way of simply misguiding his number 6 across the exit of turn 2. Halfway down, halfway to go, 50 laps left here in Iowa. It's going to be leading Alan Cummin, second place in Scott Wheeler, and third for Adam Bozzi. Emma Ox in the chat room now, rooting for the 27, and Adam finds himself the final man of the podium. Then you got Dylan Poteet in fourth, and Caleb Morrissey going to be in fifth, with Kendall Kerr in sixth, and seventh place in Chad Winstead. Eighth is going to be Roberto Ramirez, ninth in Tyler Hampton, and Terry Brooks is position number 10. 10th and last overall in that top 10 pylon, and if you want to join the fun in the Highline Racing League or experience some similar racing to what you're seeing on your screen, iRacing.com is the place to be. Visit iRacing.com for additional information about membership discounts over the summer of over 30% off. We'd love to have you join the fun here in iRacing, the world's leading online simulator now for north of 16 years. About time, of course, we give a little bit more information from iRacing itself. We'll be right back after a promotional message from our friends at iRacing.com. You're watching the ByteSIZE 150, and we'll return after the following message.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
44 laps remaining, and Alan Cummin holds forward up and ahead, and it looks like for now that number 8 machine is untouchable at the front of the field. Dylan Poteet might have just decided to go for that stronger route of pushing and going head first, but as you can see, he's now nosediving through the order. Welcome back to coverage live on FTN of the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. 43 laps remaining in what has been overall one of our cleanest races on the season. Interesting to say that because these short tracks have, most of the time anyhow, brought us nothing but misfortune and chaos. Number 7 machine of Lucas Lodano going to find himself down to the bottom. Terry Brooks up on top. And then you got Jimmy McKee coming up, who's stuck in the middle of the fight. Take a ride on board now with the 48, and you'll see exactly what he's got now with the best seat in the house. McKee now decide not only to watch the battle, but get inside of it. He'll go low on Terry Brooks, and so it's going to be the number 7 of Lucas Lodato who's able to get away. Just a slightly better run makes all the difference, and now that number 7 pulls through. He's got himself in 10th. Lucas Lodato, 11th. Terry Brooks is in 12th. 13th place, Corey Blevins, and Dawson Buchanan is going to be P14 now. Dawson falling a little bit further back than I'm sure he'd like, but even now, Corey Blevins is getting in the mix, and that's going to send Terry Brooks back that much further. Jimmy McKee looking strong to stay in 11th here if Corey Blevins doesn't get in the mix. There once again is Lucas Lodato. How about we look further ahead and see what's going on up in front? Close battle now. Tyler Hampton right there with Roberto Ramirez, and for the first time all night long, not only is Hampton up in the single digits, he's still climbing, and is due to go up to 8th. Tyler Hampton, wonderful job he's done so far in making his way up, even though he started so far behind. Question becomes now whether or not, of course, he can continue that gain. 9th place, as high as 8th for brief moments in the past couple of laps, and from 22nd on the grid, well, he's shown one thing: there's only one way to go from rock bottom, and that is up. And so far tonight, he's made major gains. Unfortunately, I would think qualifying is the only thing that really took him out of contention for a win, and it looks like giving himself that challenge, he has been able to persevere and give us a pretty good show while he's been at it. The big mover of the day, certainly the hard charger in Iowa, and a driver who's won at this circuit before. Well, if he can do it again, he'll still have to cross a few hurdles, but he's done a pretty good job getting through the majority of which. He's a driver who has gotten himself into some interesting trends. He's one of the fastest at a track like Richmond or Iowa. He has now, for 2 seasons consecutively, at completely different tracks, with different cars, won the season finale. Season 16 and 17, he was able to get the checkered flag for both of which, and he won in his first career start. It's a wonder that Tyler Hampton has not really made himself a serious championship contender. Last season fell by the wayside because of only one incident he had in Chicagoland. Now, ever since that point, of course, he's still been very strong, but has not yet found victory lane again. Now, maybe tonight he could. Of course, he gets even further up the pylon. But if you take a look now, Adam Bozzi's going to be 3rd. Scott Wheeler is in 2nd, neither of which have gained on Alan Kunman over the past 10 laps. They've actually only lost. It's a half a second now back Scott Wheeler is on Alan Kunman, and Adam Bozzi's there in 3rd. He's give or take 7/10 back on the overall top driver in Alan Kunman anyway. Overall, top 10 spread by 3 seconds, top 20 going to be spread by 9 seconds, and the lead lap spread across 22 drivers. DJ Stagner, many nights he comes in, he might not show up the best prepared, but he certainly makes the best effort he has, and I'm certain tonight he's still giving it what he's got, but so far it has not gone his way in the slightest. DJ still finds himself in 22nd place, which is, yes, a positive gain relative to where he started, but I'm sure it's not nearly positive enough for his liking, and right now he would love to find something a little bit more in that number 64 car, but looks like whatever is necessary to find that success, it really hasn't gone his way. Iowa, mind you, is coming up very soon on the Integrity Ignite Series schedule, so this is a track he better learn if he wants to keep on contending. It comes smack in the middle of the round of 10. It's 2 weeks away, so in 2 Mondays' time, live on FTN, we're coming back to this track to finish off the September swing. And DJ Stagner, well, he's going to need to know it. Caution's out, 69 laps in. Yellow's going to fly for Tyler Hampton and Corey Blevins, both of which involved in this incident, and it looks like hopefully minor damage for all involved, but nevertheless, multiple spinners. The caution's out for your 2nd incident of the day. Let's bring it back now and find out what caused it. And you see Tyler Hampton here, right there, side by side with Caleb Morrissey. Morrissey bang into the number 5 of Hampton. That's going to send him spinning. And so Corey Blevins contact with the front end and even touches the 23 of Terry Brooks. Yikes, that is bad news. and Brooks ends up sliding. Looks like he might have just gotten away. Kenny Brooks right there. Nevertheless, Caleb Morrissey getting involved with Tyler Hampton, and the yellow flag will fall as a result with 31 laps to go. We're getting real close to the tail end here, so it's a shame to see an incident of that nature. Nevertheless, pacing, and I think now we're going to see drivers come down to pit road regardless. Now, pit road's going to be irrelevant from this point. This is it. This is what it all comes down to. Pit road is going to come down to 2 stops tonight, and it looks like after 40-some laps, pit exit, well, it's going to be clear as day. We see who came in. Now let's see who comes out. Casey Heschel entering his stall. Alan Cumming getting that service. 4 tires and fuel will make all the difference, and now drivers rolling out. Kendall Kerr on the way, as is Caleb Morrissey, but nobody will beat Alan Cunman. Then it'll be Bozzy in second, Kendall Kerr in third, Scott Wheeler in fourth, and it will be Dylan Poteet just there with in fifth. Chad Winstead P6 and Morrissey in seventh, with Roberto Ramirez eighth, Jimmy McKee ninth, and Lucas Lodato in 10th. As a result of that incident, unfortunately, the big mover in Tyler Hampton falls all the way back down to 21st. Talk about a dissatisfying end to what has been a strong race. Tyler's not done yet, no, but he's got damage he's got to now keep track of for the rest of the night, and it will not be easy. 29 laps to go, and we're going to take a little bit of time away before we go green to step aside and thank all of our associates bringing you coverage tonight live on FTN. We'll return before you miss a thing. You're watching FTN nonstop coverage of the Highline Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. We'll be right back after this.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Up high, Alan Cumming goes. Down low, it's going to be Adam Bozzi right there with. Restart with 27 laps to go. We'll come to 26 when we go green. Now, whether or not Adam Bozzi has a chance to go for race victory comes down to what's left of this run. He's been up inside the top 5 all race long and now finds himself up inside the podium. Bottom group has not gotten good restarts, though, except for Alan Cumming. It looks like Alan has been the deciding factor of whether or not that line has success or failure. So the SP Design Chevrolet goes up top again. Adam Bozzi's got himself right to the bottom, and we'll be set to go back at it once more now in the home stretch of this race. Final 25 laps are just ahead of us here, and it will be up high, Alan Cumming as your control car. Down low is going to be Adam Bozzi. Green flags out again, and as you can see, clear as day, Alan Cumming leading into the opening turns. Bozzy P2 up high. Scott Wheeler going to be there in third, and it looks like he's now looking for a chance to take that catbird seat right away. Can't quite get it, no, and it looks like now Adam Bozzy instead is looking for a chance at the lead. He'll dive in quick, and this is once again something we've seen done to Alan Cunman many a time. Aggression early in the run might seem like the way to go, but even 25 laps makes a major difference. So Alan Cunman going to reside up on the higher groove. Adam Bozzy decides to lay down low and make the move fast away. Let's see what happens next here for the number 8 machine. Whether or not he still has the pace to hang on. Is he giving Bozzy this chance to make the move? And now trying to wait for those final 20 laps to be the real determining factor? That's the question. Further back, DJ Stagner, 3 wide now at Brad Kress. Best that DJ's looked all night long. He's up now to 18th, up to 17th if he tries to get by Tyler Hampton. And now as he takes it up to the ceiling of the circuit, moreover, you got Terry Brooks and Connor Holden coming up, and all of which just ahead. Haven't seen much of DJ all day long. Now he's trying to put himself together at the very end of this race when it matters most, yes, but it's additionally very risky to do that with only 23 laps remaining. Caution's out again. Yellow flag for Brad Kress and Corey Blevins. We're taking a look back now to see what happened with these two. Second incident Corey's been involved in. 9 of Brad Kress, first of the day for his team. Let's figure out now as they go through the opening turns. Might have been Brad who got loose first, and you can see going through 1 and 2. Yes, it was. Then contact with Corey, then a spin. Caution's out with 22 laps to go. Only the third of the day. So now, yellow flags out again. Unfortunately, cautions may be breeding cautions, but a very small incident of that, and all drivers involved should be able to continue as we are set to get ourselves locked in again. Maybe a shortened yellow flag as nobody else decides to go down a pit road. Green flag racing has been dominant today, but now it's going to be restart number 3. Caution number 3, and the yellow flag going to fly once again at long last. For some drivers are getting some chances to maybe stick with the field a little bit better. DJ Stagner up to the highest spot he's been in all race long in position, and number 17, low of 25th where he started, and now up to 17th place. DJ Stagner not doing a half bad job of gaining. He's up 8th spots on the day. Maybe some more now that he's got a chance again as we come from a standstill on up, as another pace lap period brings DJ Stagner as he continues to gain that much higher. Adam Bozzy leading here from as low as 7th. Overall, top 5 days so far for Bozzy, and he's looking to finish it off maybe with a win. That's, of course, if he still has the better of Alan Cunman, who is now just behind him in second. 21 laps to go. We'll go green with what looks to be at the most 19 laps remaining. Mind you, no driver is going to come down to pit road here, all of which went down the previous time by. iRacing official pace car is now going to see 2 laps to green, so it looks like 18 laps to go is now the official move of laps left to compete in this event. Back half of the top 10 goes as follows here. It's going to be, see first and foremost, Chad Winstead P5, Jimmy McKee is going to be in 6th, Dylan Poteet 7th, Caleb Morrissey 8th, Dawson Buchanan in 9th, and Lucas Lodato 10th and last of those in the upper echelon of the field. Now, a lot of drivers that we mentioned today, looks like for Jimmy McKee, he's gotten himself back in the swing of things. Dawson Buchanan has been hovering around 11th to 15th all day. Now up to 9th. Not a bad start, of course, for this rookie, but it looks like he's looking for an even better finish, and good for him, of course, in the mellow yellow number 4, now putting things together maybe for a single-digit outing after what has been a long, hard-fought day of 81 laps so far in terms of our main race, and 20 additional laps that we saw previously, so we're coming down to sprint race territory from this point onward. 19 laps to go, and we go green with 18, and once again, we're going to crank it up with our friends at TrackCams22.com, Sim Racing's highest quality camera provider for the iRacing platform. The best broadcasters choose the best cameras, and that's the reason we go for TrackCams22.com with over 100 cars, 100 tracks, available with free, of course, packs in one package. You pay for the subscription, you get all content included. And as a result, well, we've gotten ourselves the best angles all throughout simulation racing since 2022 and look to bring them to you from 2024 and beyond. Visit trackcams22.com for additional information as we are now getting ready to go at it again, and we will go green with Adam Bazzi, your control car, as we crank it up now with 18 laps remaining. Green flags out, led by the 27. And now 12 laps remain. I'm making it 11. Adam Bazzi and Alan Cummins, the drivers, are battling for the race win. It comes down now to whether or not the number 8 has anything left in the tank to go out there and chase the 27. Although it's less of a chase now, more of a head-to-head duel. Alan Cummins lies low. Adam Bazzi resides up top. And so now it's going to be head-to-head across these top two drivers. They're separate by less than a tenth of a second. You got now Scott Wheeler there in third, and fourth place is going to be the number 21 of Kendall Kerr. And here we have it, Alan Cummins, the driver who's been dominant today, looking to get back up in front compared to Adam Bazzi, who's been there, but he hasn't really been the dominant man in this event. That could change here and now, though. Alan Cummins looking low even still. Scott Wheeler with the best view in the house, well, he's still watching aboard. And bottom side is where Alan Cummins has been for many a lap now. Adam Bazzi has the higher side, which seems to get that better momentum, but wow, how close it was to contact there. You would have thought a repeat of last week would have been an affair. Now, Caleb Morrissey's up to 6th. A wonderful race for him, but his teammate we're watching on board with right now, one of the 4 horsemen, and Scott Wheeler, a real chance that he can snap the drought in his own right. Alan Cummins going to see the caution fly. Yellow flags out. Casey Eschel spins. We will now have at most 3 laps left, and major damage for Casey Eschel. And it looks like he was not alone in this incident, so we're going to figure out what caused it, because that is huge. And it's going to be tricky now for Casey Heschel to carry on. I don't think he will. And his race is going to end prematurely. Why? Up top. It looks like he moved top first, then got into Lodato, and that will end Casey Heschel's night. Lucas Lodato also going to face some significant damage, although he is scored inside the top 10 right now. I cannot imagine he'll have a chance of hanging on once we go green. Casey on pit road. Lucas Lodato remains on track, but as you can see, that hood is going to pop up at any speed higher than pacing, which is coming in now at some 45 miles an hour. Not the best circumstance to be in, so Lucas Lodato comes down and in for what will be effectively mandatory repair. You cannot make something like that work out. Lodato's in 11th now and goes dropping further. Adam Bozzi leads. Now, Alan Cumming there in second. Six laps remaining, and it will be 4 at the most when we go green. So if we have any other yellow flags from this point, it will be our final caution of the day. One and only overtime attempt is available to drivers in this event. However, we do not have any further extensions. That being said, a finish under yellow is still plausible if anything else happens in this final stint. Hopefully, of course, that is not what happens. Adam Bozzi, Alan Cumming getting a chance to, of course, choose where they would like to start. It looks like 2 laps to green now officially, and so when we go back at it, we will have 3 laps remaining. Scott Wheeler is going to be in 3rd, and Kendall Kerr is in 4th. Chad Winstead, P5. Five laps remaining. Looks like right now, 20 drivers on the lead lap. Lucas Lodato once getting, of course, back to pit road. Got the hood damage repaired. He is back up with the lead lappers. DJ Stagner there. He's in 19th. And so it looks like even though he's fallen a little bit further back, there's no chance of him slipping outside of the top 20. There is, of course, Colton Gardner, 18th. Jason Harrison, 17th. Tyler Hampton is in 16th, despite the damage earlier. Maybe a chance now to go on a last few lap rampage up the order. Maybe going to make up a few more positions. That remains to be seen as the Garage Beer Ford Mustang brings us back to the line. It will be 3 laps to go. We go at it again for what could be our final restart of the night. White flag makes it official and will end tonight's race. Alan Cumming to the bottom, Adam Bozzi up top. Green, white, checkered. We're almost there. Hopefully now we can avoid it by getting this one done naturally with 3 laps left on the table. White flag, once again, will make things official. Any other caution from here bring us to overtime. Bozzi has been the story of the last 25 laps. Alan Cumming has been the story of the race. Alan is looking for 2 consecutive wins. Bozzi looking for his first of the season. And you got Scott Wheeler there looking for his first in multiple seasons, as is Kendall Kerr, the second row, looking to snap some droughts, and Alan Cumming looking to make it again. Victory lane for a second consecutive week. Inside line goes the pace car with 3 laps left. Alan Cumming does not get the jump he needs. Bozzi, though, with a car length of a little bit of an advantage into turns 1 and 2. Jumbled up further on back. Now top 2 drivers are going to be within some 3 car lengths of one another, and the rest of the field double file at the very most. Not a lot of aggression right now, save for those top 5 drivers who know there's a realistic shot of putting it all on the line and coming away with victory. 2 laps to go here in Iowa. Alan Cumming now within 15/100ths of a second. Gap is narrowing, but ever so slightly. Alan has not been able to hang on for the race lead for the last 20-some laps. Bozzi, however, that he has, and it's the best he's looked all night long, with the white flag coming out this time by 4 turns. One lap. That's the way it goes. 100 laps we've gone through, and this is the final of which. Final lap is out in Iowa. Alan Cumming diving deep through the apex of turns 1 and 2, looking for a better exit off the corner. That he will get. Now through 3 and 4, Adam goes way low, far to the inside. Adam Bozzi remains up top, and it'll be a slide jump on the final lap. And for Alan Cumming, it will be enough. Cumming wins his second consecutive race, winning in Iowa on a last-ditch effort, and that it works. What a win! Alan Cumming, it's his second in 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, breaking that winless streak has brought the 8 back to life. Heat winner, race winner, Alan Cumming on top. And already due to celebrate this one, burning down the house here in Iowa. And a very familiar scene. Checkered flag will fall again, and this time, of course, the number 8 of Alan Cumming grabs it in Iowa. Second place going to come home. That's going to be Adam Bozzi. Third, and Scott Wheeler. And fourth, Chad Winstead. P5 going to be Kendall Kerr with 6th place in Jimmy McKee. 7th spot going to be Caleb Morrissey. And 8th, Dylan Poteet. P9, Matt Muir and Dawson Buchanan concludes the top 10. 11th place, it's going to be then and there, driver of the number 23, Terry Brooks, despite late incident, was able to hang on with Tyler Hampton, then 12th, Corey Blevins, 13th, and Jason Harris, 14th. Lucas Lodano, P15, with Colton Gardner in 16th. You'll have a 17th place then as Connor Holden. 19th is then going to be DJ Stagner. P18 for Connor Holden, rather, and 20th for Brad Kress. Final drivers on the day, Casey Heschel in 21st. 22nd, Roberto Ramirez. Another short track race with solid potential gone wrong from pole. Roberto Ramirez just ahead of Robert Kenny, 23rd. Seb Miller, 24th. Mike Tellier, 25th. And last, here in Iowa. And so the checkered flag falls again for a very familiar face, Alan Cumming, and we were waiting to see if he could snap that drought, and it looks like now priority is on winning again and again, and tonight taking 2 checkered flags. First and foremost, winning heat number 2, and now winning his second straight race. Alan Cumming on fire in a victory again here in Iowa. The pace from Richmond and the strategy to prove it.
Hey, how about that? 2 in a row, buddy.
And this is about the best you've looked in several seasons here. And tonight was outright dominance from the very beginning. Well, we saw at Richmond you had the speed in these heat races, and it came back again. Let's first talk about how that went.
Yeah, heat race was good. Had a I was just filling out the car in the heat race, just seeing what it would do over that 20 laps, and I liked the way it felt, so I kept what I had in the heat race and brought it over to the main, and it felt pretty similar throughout the whole race, so I was happy with the way the car felt.
And it looks like not only that confidence in the setup, but having that clean air and the track position from the very beginning. You got some good jumps on all of the restarts there. Adam Bozzi, though, keeping you honest, how tricky were those last few restarts?
They were tricky for sure. I just tried to make sure I could get the best jump I could, to try to be side by side with Adam going into one. I know it didn't work out that way each time, but I was able to keep pace with him. He had it hooked up at the top in 3 and 4, and I had mainly been running the bottom in 3 and 4 all race. So I once I saw he had it hooked up there, I just had to follow him and try to do something. But yeah.
All things considered, it looks like working out that final turn move. No contact between you two, just driving it in and making it work again. Checkered flag for the second straight week, and it looks like now you're a serious championship contender. Up next from here, we're going to be going back to those cookie cutters. So, mile and a half track, where last mile and a half we had, you won in Chicagoland. How do you feel about your odds there?
Well, after last week, I feel better about these cookie cutter tracks. I always used to hate them, hated going to them. But whatever we end up with next week, I'll be happy, and we'll go there and maybe try to do a three-peat. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it looks like now three-peat might just be on the cards. Alan Cunman, victory again here from Richmond. Any last shout-outs or final messages you'd like to give out here?
Yeah, just the whole race overall was cleaner than average for us. So I appreciate everybody keeping it clean and having some good long runs. It was really fun racing with Wheeler and Adam and Poteet earlier in the race. It's good. It's good to race around guys who keep it clean like that. Just makes racing here fun every week. I don't know what happened with Adam going into turn 3 on the last lap. I'll have to go watch it back. But yeah, it was fun. Appreciate you for putting it on. Appreciate my wife letting me do this every week. All my teammates, everybody who shows up. We'll see y'all next week.
And it looks like high spirits with a second consecutive victory. Alan Cunman, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Cunman going to be, of course, race winner tonight, and Adam Bozzi, oh so close tonight, coming alive in the final quarter, but just bested on that final turn. Adam, second place here from Iowa. How was it out there?
I've got no words tonight. I'm just doing this so I don't get yelled at by anybody else. I am not happy with tonight at all. There's no reason that I should have lost that race, and I have an extra lap to thank for it. So that's all I'm gonna say.
And you mentioned talking about the race and how it ended there. Can you walk us through the final 25 laps?
I mean, 2 weeks in a row now, I felt like I've had a great car from, I don't know, drop of the green flag. I just felt like the car drove good, and it felt the way I was driving. I mean, Chicagoland, I felt that, and tonight I felt that, and just tried to bide my time and wait for it. And at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know what I can do differently these past 2 weeks. Last week, I get screwed over on a strategy call, and tonight, it's just short track shenanigans. So, I mean, congrats to Alan. He had a dominant car tonight. So, I mean, it was his race to lose, and he threw it in there, and I just didn't play it right. But I don't know. There's some things that probably need to be discussed behind the scenes too.
Well, all things considered, we're moving on from beyond the short tracks and now going up next to the mile and a half cookie cutter racing. How do you feel about your chances there to maybe break through for victory?
I don't know. Mile and a halves have not been my strong suit, and at this point in the season, I'm just trying to fight for top fives and top tens. I mean, if we magically end up in victory lane at some point, so be it. But this is not fun. For lack of a better term, this is not how I wanted to end tonight. So,
Have it, Adam Bozzi. If you have any final comments or shout outs you'd like to give, well, make sure to let us know.
no, just I appreciate you guys putting on this broadcast every single week. I know there's a lot of people that watch us live, a lot of people that tune into these things afterwards as well. So I'm sure they absolutely loved the racing product tonight. And shout out to my QCR guys. They've talked me through everything, and I have not had the best of attitudes as of late, trying to manage everything, and hopefully we'll get it straightened out. But I wouldn't be in the situation if it wasn't for these guys holding me up and keeping me going.
Adam Bozzi, P2 on the day here from Iowa. Another strong result, and I'm sure it wasn't to your liking there. Adam, thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Now with Bozzi on the move, one final driver we'd like to speak to, and that will be the 97 of Scott Wheeler, coming alive at the tail end tonight and making it happen for another podium. Very consistent on the day. As we're looking at where you were from start to finish, you maintained yourself from 4th to 3rd. It's a one-spot game, but it's enough to land on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good run today. Second would have been, I mean, obviously a win would have been nice, but I don't think I had enough for Allen. But it was a good time racing, and just really hard to pass. But overall, pretty good product by us, I think.
And a lot cleaner than what we saw there at Richmond. You mentioned that a few cautions at the tail end, a few at the start, but otherwise getting some good green flag running in. So how did that work for you? Did it suit you to have those longer runs? Or did you feel better with the sprints?
The long run definitely felt better. I've always been better on the long run when I can roll the car through the middle of the corner. I feel like Alan and I really had that down for the majority of that first long run that we did, and then kind of at the end it was more of a sprint. But yeah, managing tires was a good time. I think if it had gone green, I still wouldn't have had enough to get Alan, but I think a second place probably would have been more likely.
Well, all things considered, still coming out with that podium, green, white, checkered at the very end. Now, we have, of course, mentioned how similar Iowa and Richmond, of course, Iowa, Richmond, very similar when it comes to characteristics. Do you think the way you were racing at that track 2 weeks ago carried over for tonight's race?
Uh, I raced horribly at Richmond, so if anything, I didn't learn anything there. But I made a couple different tweaks to my pedals and whatnot to have the throttle be a little less sensitive, and I think that helped a lot. And this track's a little bit bigger. You can save tires more, and again can roll through the corners, which suits my driving style a little bit better. So I've always run pretty well here, but I mean, Alan clearly has been the master of the short tracks.
Looks like even with Allen up there in front, you made yourself very well known at the very tail end. Third place here, another podium, and we got our cookie cutters up next. How do you feel about heading back to the mile and a halves?
I feel pretty good. Those tracks are definitely the ones I perform best at. I'd love it if we went to Charlotte or Atlanta. Texas is pretty good too, but Zellner will probably sing up the show if we go there. So overall, I feel good. Just try to carry momentum and recover from the poor kind of first 3 weeks that I had. So we'll see.
And the recovery still in full force. Scott Wheeler, top 3 finish and a strong one at that. Any last shout-outs?
Yeah, I just want to thank my teammates, Scott, Caleb, Austin. It's a blast racing with them every week. The guys in the league, we had a really good race this week. A little bit of an improvement from the first couple, so nice to see. Adam, Kendall, Toby putting everything on. I know we had a little bit of difficulty with the setup. It's not really anything of the league's wrongdoing, but just iRacing in general. So it takes a lot to put the show on every week, but it's a good time, and keep coming back on Thursday and enjoying it.
And a very solid run here for the 97 team. Scott Wheeler concluding the podium here at Iowa. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Now with Wheeler on the move, that's the word from our top 3. Scott Wheeler, position number 3 on the day. Second place, Adam Bozzi, and race winner. Now, of course, coming away with that back-to-back performance, Alan Kunman, a winner again, and 2 consecutive at that. What a start to this campaign it's been for Kunman now with 2 consecutive wins, and now all eyes on perhaps coming away with a bit of a hat trick here. If, of course, possible, it's a wonderful start for Allen. 3 in a row could be what's up next. And with that being said, you'll have to join us next Thursday night, same time, same place, with the Cookie Cutters coming back live on FTN here in the Highline Racing League as Season 18 goes on. I've been David Kreutz, commentating and producing all of tonight's action. If you'd like to join the Highline Racing League or any other broadcasted league live on FTN, scan the QR code on your screen or check out the links in our description, and you can find yourself as another driver entering the fun here in the Highline Racing League. You've been watching exclusive coverage from the virtual Iowa Speedway tonight, the ByteSIZE 150 here in the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. Thank you again for tuning in to exclusive coverage live on FTN. We hope you have a fantastic night.